Hello everybody. Today we are going to go through answers for day 2 of balancing. So, first let me start by saying this worksheet does have some mistakes in it, so if I correct them, this should be CH and then a lower 4. Okay. Start by drawing my line between my products and reactants. For reactants, elements, I have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, 2 oxygens. My product side, I have the same elements in the same order. I have 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens, and 3 oxygens. Remember, to find oxygens, we need to add them from both the carbon dioxide and the water. Okay? Carbon is balanced, hydrogen is not. So let's make it that way. I'm going to do that by adding a 2 in front of this H2O. That changes my number of hydrogen and does indeed balance it. That also changes this number of oxygens to 2. So I have 2 plus 2, 4 oxygens now. In order for my reactants to balance, I need a 2 as a coefficient in front of my oxygen. And everything is balanced. 1, 4, 4, 1, 4, 4 with coefficients of 1, 2, 1, 2. My next homework problem, I have the same 3 elements, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Count them. Remember, with my oxygen, I have 2 from the carbon dioxide and 1 from the water. First thing I notice is that my carbons are not balanced. I'm going to go ahead and make them balanced by putting a 2 as a coefficient in front of my carbon dioxide. That gives me 2 for my carbon, but it also changes my number of oxygens over here. That changes that to 4. So now instead of 3 oxygens, I have 4 plus 1, so I have 5. Next, I have hydrogen to balance, 6 on my reactant side and only 2 on my product side. So I am going to put a coefficient of 3. That does change my hydrogens to 6. It also changes my oxygens to 3 for water. So now I have 4 plus the 3, 7. Okay. When I go over here to try to balance my oxygens, there is nothing I can put in front of O2 to make it equal to 7. So what I need to do is double all of my coefficients that I already have. So I'm going to make my first one a 2, double my already 2 there to a 4. Then I'm going to double my 3 in front of my water to a 6 and recalculate. So first I'm going to start with my reactants. That 2 makes 4 carbons, 12 oxygens, 12 hydrogens. On my product side, I have 4 carbons and 12 hydrogens. It also changes the number of oxygens that I'm dealing with. Just for my carbon dioxide, I have 8. And for my water, there are 6. 8 plus 6 gives me 14 oxygens. In order to get 14 oxygens on my reactant side, I need a coefficient of 7. And then everything is balanced. And number 3, for our elements, we have calcium, SO4. We are going to do as a polyatomic ion. SO4 is sulfate. I'm going to write it down here. And then I have aluminum and bromine. I'm going to go ahead and write them on my product side in the same order. Some things that I noticed are that my aluminum, my sulfate, and my bromine do not balance. I am going to start with sulfate because I wrote it second. So I have 3 of those over here. In order to put 3 of those, I need a 3 in front of my calcium sulfate. That changes my calcium. It changes my sulfate. My calcium then does not balance over on my product side, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 3 in front of that calcium bromide. Changes my calcium to 3 and my bromine to 6. Now I have my aluminum and my bromine left. I need 2 aluminum, so I'm going to put a coefficient of 2 there. And that does end up changing my bromine to 6. Then everything balances. 3, 3, 2, 6, 3, 3, 2, 6. For number 4, I have HCl, Ca, and then OH. I'm going to write them in the same order on my product side. Remember, this is one of them we're going to split water because on the reactant side it's H and OH. So we have 2 HOH. So I have 2 of both of those. I noticed that my chlorine does not balance, so I'm going to do that first. I'm going to write a 2 in front of there. That is going to change my hydrogen. It's also going to change my chlorine. Then everything is balanced. For number 5, we have done this one before, so you should look familiar. I have H and O as my elements involved. I know that my oxygen has got to be even, and my hydrogen and oxygen have to be the same number and a multiple of 2. So, in order to make oxygen even, I'm going to add a 2 there as a coefficient. That changes my hydrogen into 4 and my oxygen into 4 as well. They are equal and even. So I'm going to put a 2 in front of my H2O2. Balances out 4 atoms of each hydrogen and oxygen. For number 6, I have K, Cl, and O. Oxygen is the only thing that does not balance currently. So it's a 2 and a 3. So I know right away I'm going to make them equal 6. On my product side, I'm going to multiply my oxygen by 3 to get 6. On my reactant side, I'm going to multiply by 2 to get 6. That also changes my potassium and my chlorine. So now those are unbalanced. I needed 2 to balance my potassium and chlorine. Everything is happy. In our next example, we have potassium, iodide, and chlorine. When I'm done counting, I know that my chlorine and my my chlorine and my iodine do not balance. So I need 2 chlorines over here on the product side. So I'm going to put a 2 in front of my KCl. That is going to change my potassium and my chlorine. Now my potassium and iodine do not balance. So I'm going to put a 2 in front of those two as well to change everything balancing out at 2. For number 8, I have potassium, iodide, lead, and nitrate. On my product side, I have the same. My iodides do not balance, and my nitrates do not balance. So I'm going to get my nitrate to balance by putting a 2 in front of the potassium nitrate. That makes my potassium 2 and my nitrate 2. On the reactant side, I need my potassium to be 2 and my iodide to be 2. So I put a coefficient of 2 in front of my potassium iodide. Then everything matches. 2, 2, 1, 2. For number 9, I have potassium, phosphate, hydrogen, and chlorine. Right away, after I'm done counting, I will notice that my potassiums do not balance. So I'm going to put a 3 in front of my potassium on my product side. That changes potassium and chlorine. Now my hydrogen and chlorine do not balance. So on my reactant side, I'm going to put a 3 in front of those. And then everything balances. For our last example, we have magnesium, nitrate, potassium, and phosphate. So magnesium, I noticed, does not match, is not balanced. So it's 3 on one side and 1 on the other side. So I'm going to put a 3 in front of it. That changes my magnesium to 3. It also changes my nitrate to 6. Now I can balance my nitrates. So I want to make it 6, so I'm going to put a 6 as a coefficient. That's going to change my nitrate. Also changes my potassium to 6. Now my potassium and my phosphate do not balance, so I need my potassium to be 6, so I'm going to multiply by 2 here. That changes my potassium. It also changes my phosphate to 2. And everything is balanced. As always, if you guys have questions on any of these or need any extra help, let me know. I am available on Hangouts, through email, or Google Meets. Every Wednesday, we'll have a Google Meet at 12:30. Have a great day, guys.